What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about how you can be a Division I quarterback, and we're going to be teaching you some of the different traits that it takes to play quarterback at the Division I level. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it can teach you a few new things, but also, fellas, to be able to play at the collegiate level of football, you have to know how to read defenses and read coverages. So if you want to get access to over 500 videos on how to read defenses, check out that very first link in the description below. What you're looking at right now here is our Cover 2 playlist. We probably have about 75 to 100 videos alone just on Cover 2. We break down all the different other coverages that you have. We put them into playlists and organize it for you. So check out that very first link below if you want to improve your football IQ. Let's get started. So one of the things that they're asking a lot of college quarterbacks to be able to do now is be able to execute an RPO. So what is an RPO? An RPO is a run-pass option. Usually you'll see this out of maybe like a pistol formation or an offset formation with the running back. So what an RPO is you could either hand the ball off or you could throw the ball. It's pretty simple like that. It's kind of a beginner thing. If you play high school football, I'm sure you know what it is. But the main points of emphasis to be able to play at the next level is you have to be disciplined with your eyes, you have to know who you are reading, and you have to be able to make throws from an awkward position without your feet and your hips being set to the target. So this is an example of me doing an RPO here, right? Now watch my eyes. My eyes are up. My eyes are not looking at the running back. I'm giving this running back this line to be able to hit this thing with some speed, and I'm actually putting the ball in the running back's stomach, because when that outside backer or whatever defender I'm reading decides to crash, this still looks like a run. This looks like a run mesh point at a certain point, which is what will get a linebacker to crash into the box. Maybe a linebacker will cheat and stay home, and then we just hand the ball off. RPO is all about a numbers game. So now we're going to be breaking down an actual live game example of an RPO. This was just mainly to showcase the mechanics of the movement. So now in a live game RPO, this is Quinn Ewers throwing this here at the University of Texas. And this is pretty much as simple as it gets in terms of an RPO. So you see, offset running back, they're going to be reading this furthest outside defender here. If he inserts and crashes down into the box, that is when we are going to pull this ball and hit this slant coming right behind him. Now, you see how when Ewers does this, he catches the snap, his eyes go straight to where? Straight to that outside backer, just like that example that we looked at. Fellas, this is something that, maybe if you play in an under center offense, I know that's not as common nowadays. Maybe you're just in like a regular spread offense where you don't do too much RPO stuff. You have to be able to know how to do this. So many offenses are switching to that air raid RPO type offense that if you want to make yourself an asset at the next level, you have to be able to do this. So puts that ball in the running back's stomach, reading this outside backer. He starts to crash down. We see that he crashes down. We pull the ball. Now, you see when Ewers makes this throw, his feet aren't in the typical, point your toes at the target, get your feet all the way set. His feet aren't set. His feet are off center to the left, but he's still able to make this accurate pass, change up an arm angle, throw around a defender. This is stuff that you have to be able to execute, fellas, to play quarterback at the next level. You have to be good at this RPO game. So make sure eyes are going straight to the read key, and we're able to make throws from an awkward position. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. So RPOs, fellas, if you want to play at the next level, you have to make yourself an asset in that, either the zone read game or the RPO game. So now we're going to be looking at 3 examples here from Bryce Young. And the main thing that college coaches are looking for in a quarterback is the ability to extend the play. So what do I mean by extending the play? So extending the play is not necessarily being a guy who's, a 4.4 40 guy. I don't need you to run the fastest 40. I don't even need you to be the fastest on the team. I just need you to extend the play and be able to get the ball to your playmakers. So let's watch these clips here from Bryce Young. So he's rolling out, makes a couple guys miss, steps up in the pocket, steps back, flips his feet, and he's able to make a throw. That is the definition of extending a play. Now, all this stuff that he is doing back here, is that something that you can teach? I personally think that you either have this type of escapability or you don't. You can work different situations. A lot of this is instinctual, and those instincts are developed from, constantly playing the game from the time you're 8 years old, playing quarterback, just having that instinct back in the pocket. I'm not going to sit here and try to be like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to move like this. But what I can teach you how to do is be able to get the ball out of your hands no matter what platform you are on. So a lot of times people talk about off-platform, get the ball out, quick release. You hear those terms thrown around a lot. What does that exactly mean? The thing about Bryce Young that's so interesting when he plays in the pocket is he can throw from anywhere. He is always in a position ready to throw, because every single defender on this defense, fellas, when you get to that next level, especially Division I level, is faster than the dudes you played at high school. Imagine the best high school player that you've ever played against, or youth player if you're a youth guy, and now imagine 11 of them lining up on the other side of the ball. pretty fast defense. And that is even like, like the worst Division I team. That's how it is. They're going to be so much better than any high school competition that you've played. So quarterbacks, what they like to do is, you see it all the time, they get into bad habits. When they're about ready to make a throw, they load up, right? Like they'll have the ball hanging by their like stomach, and then when the receiver comes open, they lift it up to their ear or to that shelf or whatever it might be, and they load. That's wasted motion. You can't have any wasted motion in the pocket. So you look at Bryce Young, he's always ready to throw. He's always got that ball in a good position to throw, get it out of his hands. It just takes a quick set of his feet. Let's look at this example. He puts the brakes on, steps up, always ready to get the ball out of his hands. So like I said, I'm not saying that you need to make these plays to stand out to a college coach, because college coaches know that. They know that not everybody is going to be able to make plays like this, because, maybe you're 6'3", 200 something pounds, and you just flat out can't move like this. That's okay. That's not your game. Your game is more of a pocket passer, but you can still extend the play. But extending the play comes down to always being ready to get the ball out of your hands. So you see when Bryce Young, he puts the brakes on, he steps up, look where that ball is. He's ready to go. It's already in that throwing spot. He has weight on his back leg. He is able to drive and get the ball out of his hands no matter what platform he is on. His feet could be pointed towards the sideline here, and he could still make a throw over here because he has weight on the back leg and he is comfortable throwing. So how do you develop something like this? Because, I could sit here and talk about this all day. How do I develop this quick release? And when you guys are throwing in the pocket, when you're going through routes versus air, you guys are doing drill work. Like let's use a drill, for example. How many of you guys at practice use that individual drill where you set up like 3 different blocking bags or hurdles or cones, whatever it is, and as a quarterback, your job is to shuffle through, and then at the end of it, you throw to a target. Now, when you're going through a drill like that, you should not move the ball. You should have the ball exactly in this position the entire time. Because when you have the ball in that position, and then when it's time to throw, and you just throw right from there, you are building that comfortability throwing from that position. You're playing catch with a receiver, you should not move the ball. You should have the ball in one single spot every single time. Because when it comes time to throw in a game, you don't want to have that load up. Imagine if Bryce Young was right here, and when he got set to throw, he had to load the ball up and take an extra split second to make this pass. Who knows? That extra split second, 14 could be in here to make play. This guy could have recovered on the ball. He may have ran into another receiver. A lot of bad things happen when we wait and when we have wasted motion in the pocket. So fellas, got to make sure that we develop a quick release, no wasted motion, and the ability to extend the play if you want to stand out to a Division I college coach. Play this thing again. Let's play this thing again one more time. Great job making these guys miss and then being able to put the brakes on, throw from any platform, and get the ball out of his hands. This is just another example of the exact same thing, just so you guys can see it one more time. Pretty much, fellas, it all comes down to no wasted motion and having that ball out of your hands as fast as possible, because that defense is as fast as possible. Okay, so now the last thing that a college coach is going to be looking for, especially at the D1 level, is you got to be able to make every single throw on the field. So you have to have arm strength. And I know that, a lot of people think that, well, I have a weak arm. Does that mean that I can't play at the next level? I don't want to say that you can't, because arm strength is something that I feel can be developed and can be improved. And that's what we're going to be talking about now. So if you don't have the strongest arm, when I say you want to make college level throws, you want to have a college level arm strength, I'm talking that you want to be on the left hash and you want to be able to throw a speed out to the field. So you're on the left hash, you want to be able to throw a 10-yard out to the right side. You're on the right hash, you should be able to throw a 15-yard comeback to the left, to the field. Because those are the throws that they're going to ask you to make. They're going to put you on the right hash and they're going to say, hey, hit this deep corner. And if you don't have the arm strength to do that, you just flat out can't do it. And college coaches will know that. Because let me tell you something about the recruiting process. In the spring, you get college coaches that come to your school. You guys, some of you have probably seen it. And they'll watch quarterbacks throw. They'll have the quarterbacks, they'll pull them aside after practice and, they put them through a little throwing workout. And the throws that they have you make are the college level throws. And they can tell as soon as you let go of that ball if you are going to have the arm strength or if you need to improve it, right? So look at Bryce Young. He's not a very big guy. He's probably 5'9", maybe 10, right, in platform shoes. He's not that big a guy. Doesn't weigh a whole lot. But he still has a very, very strong arm. And so let's talk about why. So arm strength comes from nowhere even close to your arm or your shoulder. They just call it arm strength. I don't even know why, because really it comes down to your hips and it comes down to your legs and your throwing mechanics. So you see when Bryce Young is about to throw, you see how his weight is distributed on his backside. He's got about 60 to 65% of his weight on his back leg. That is the magic spot that we want to try to get to, because that 60 to 65% Transferring that to his front leg is what will give you more power on the ball because that can get your hips and your legs engaged. So before every single throw, fellas, you should try to get to this point. Your back foot should be located underneath your back shoulder, and I'll explain why. And you should have about 60 to 65% of your weight back here. Now, when you have your weight back, power, velocity, all comes down to something called torque. Torque comes from hip and shoulder dissociation. So what is that? Hip and shoulder dissociation is when you have your hips and your legs driving through as your upper body goes back. So as your shoulders go back. So when you could get to that position and those hips are rotating through and that front hip can come open, back hip can drive open before the ball goes through, that's torque. That's how we get velocity on the ball. It's very similar to hitting a baseball. When you hit a baseball and you're in the batter's box, you keep the bat back here, you step, and you pivot with your back foot to bring the bat through. Hitting a baseball and throwing a football are two very similar motions. It's the same type of timing and the same type of sequence. It's not the same as throwing a baseball. It's the same as hitting a baseball. It's all about torque. So you see when he takes a stride. So he goes here, back foot's under his frame. Now the mistake with this position is that a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll overstride. They get their back foot under their shoulder and they'll push off of the middle arch of their foot. So they will push this way. So what happens is that they end up taking a long stride. You see how Bryce Young gets his foot in the ground right now? Their stride will be maybe about 3 inches further than that. And so what ends up happening is their front foot's too wide, then their base is too wide, their hips can't rotate, and then their shoulders end up going through before their hips do. And that puts a lot of pressure on your arm, but also takes away arm strength and velocity. What we have to focus on doing is when you get your back foot to this position, it is a shift of weight from your quad and from your glute. You are just shifting it forward. You're not pushing, you are shifting it forward so that front foot can get down, and that weight can transfer through. And when that weight can transfer through with a quick stride, that's what gets your hips to fire. And when those hips go through before the shoulders, that's velocity, that puts a lot more speed on your arm, and that's how we can snap on the ball. Now, at the finish here, the icing on the cake is to get that like snap of your arm. These are all things that are going to tie into velocity and distance. So when you guys do this position, when you're able to rotate back with those shoulders as that weight is transferring through, as those hips are going through. And again, like I said, you want your weight back, not on your front foot, so you can rotate. All you could try this right now. If you're a righty, stand on your right foot and try to rotate your front shoulder. Now stand on your left foot and try to rotate your front shoulder. It's a lot harder when you stand on your left foot. So in the pocket, if you don't have your weight back with your back foot, you physically won't be able to rotate and get to that dissociation where the hips are going through before the shoulders to generate torque. So just make sure that your weight is back so I can rotate my shoulders. So now when I go through, there's a lot of velocity here. There's a lot of speed here. And on the finish, if you can keep your shoulders parallel, hips parallel to the target, which means that like you're not ripping this shoulder way open, you can get to something we call extension. And extension is the release point that Bryce Young has right here. That extension at the release, that's how we get the spin on the ball. It's how you get that extra velocity on the ball. But you cannot let this shoulder rip way open. You cannot let this elbow rip down because that will throw off your release. If your shoulder, a lot of people think that ripping their shoulder open is a source of power, and it is, but it's not consistent power. You'll rip open like this, that arm will go wide, and you'll come across instead of extending. Because you hear quarterback coaches say it all the time. Oh, hey, you missed on that one because you didn't flick your wrist. That's the worst advice anybody could ever give you. It's because of your front side usually, and there are a lot of other factors that tie into the reason why you didn't extend to the target. So it comes down to being able to generate torque, being able to have a quick stride, get your hips involved, shoulders back, dissociation, if you will, and then staying level with your body. Don't let the elbow pull down so we can get to extension and snap and finish on that ball. So fellas, to be a Division I quarterback, to be a quarterback at any level of college football, because D1 isn't ever for everybody. You know, if you just want to go to college, get it paid for, you have to have arm strength. You have to be able to make college level throws, comebacks from the opposite hash, and you have to have the correct mechanics, and your mechanics must be on point.